Hey everybody, we're live, and hey, Bill Carroll's joining us. He's got his trademark tie and shirt. However, it looks like he's got new blue glasses. And oh, he muted himself. I have to unmute him. I didn't mute him. Hold on a second. Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
that new, but thank you for noticing.
Cool. And what do you think of the Raiders game?
It
turned
out
almost
exactly like I predicted.
The
Steelers
Steelers
are a team that's better at winning
close games
because they
because
play
they
so many
close games.
They
They
very rarely are blown out,
though they did get
blown out
blown out first game,
and they
and they
rarely
blow people out.
The only
good thing
about
constantly playing close games
is you know how to
is you know how to do it.
So
So
they have a
they have a
defense
defense that's good at ending games.
They have an
offense that is
mostly
pedestrian
to be
honest.
It could be less pedestrian,
and
that's why Steeler
fans
are
constantly
calling
for
the head
of Matt Canada.
They have,
And I'm not a Steeler fan.
right. They have
played like
Calvin Austin, the third. Extremely explosive, sort of a I would say poor man, a lower middle class, a working class man, Tyreek Hill. Right. 4.31 40, 40 and a half inch vertical. So he's little, but he can really get up there if he has to snag a ball. Tracks the ball well. And because he's an experienced kickoff return guy, he's good in space, make people miss. But he's underutilized. They do use Pickens. Pickens has become the number one. Freiermuth was underutilized in this game. They made one big play. They have Allen Robinson, who they treat as essentially a possession receiver at this point. They don't have a true number two. They have a couple of number threes and a number four, but they don't have a true number two receiver. They have to either develop one, trade for one, draft one next year. But they've got to work some things out. But Matt Canada has three or four interesting concepts in place per game, which is actually more frustrating. It would be one thing if it was only pedestrian. If it was all bad. People get frustrated because there's a few good things in there. It's like, well, where's the rest of it? Like you're teasing us. So that's the issue with Matt Canada. And Kenny Pickett, to his credit, though he threw a couple of interceptable balls, mostly took care of the ball. He took to his horse and ran, and he could do it even more. And they could design more runs. He's a much better athlete than most people realize. They need to slowly but surely minimize Najee Harris. Because he's essentially a 3.9 yards to carry type guy. He's a thudder, right? He's a guy that plods in there, might break a tackle. Everything goes well. Might get you 23, 24 yards. But he's never going to take it to the house 70 yards. Unless the other team is stricken with mononucleosis. So this offense could be more dynamic. The defense is, I would say one cornerback away from being great defense. They're a very good defense. Patrick Peterson is he's the oldest corner in football right now. That'd be about that. He is in an ideal situation working with a young corner here. And I guess Joey Porter Jr. is that young corner. But I still would like at least one more guy who can play right now at a high level. And isn't just sort of a player coach. And the Raiders look exactly like what I thought they'd look. I said they'd be an 8-9 win team, maybe 7, but some are 9 wins. Probably just missed the playoffs.
But Bill, let's talk about the anatomy of that for a second. What bothers me about this Raider organization is it seems like they've really forgotten how to have a variety of passes and running game compared to the Gruden years. And Josh McDaniels, you might have 2 tight ends, trips occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have much play action at all. You don't have any use of exotic formations. Nothing like what Gruden had. You don't have anything like or Bill Musgrave in his day, but that was in Oakland. I'm talking about some tie to, recent personnel and coaches around. It's like Mark Davis has sold his soul to Josh McDaniels in a different way that I can't even say is the Patriot way, because a lot of plays that Josh runs, I have not seen. I've seen some concepts, but not in terms of formation. A lot of plays that he's developed looks like he developed for the Raiders. He didn't really bring them over. We didn't see we used to see the nifty. We saw it one year. The nifty fake dive play, where they fake dive and take 2 steps and pass. That was really Tom Brady's play. We saw that a couple of times, but Derek Carr was being asked to run it. And the problem with Derek Carr is that, Derek didn't have the skill of being able to quickly figure out what was happening in front. You had to make it clear for him. Whereas Tom Brady had that unique ability to decipher what was happening and know that the play was going to work immediately or not come off, because they practice it. He's been running it for years. So anyway, this organization looks like it doesn't have an identity anymore. It doesn't look like the Raiders. It doesn't look like it's a team that had the DNA of winning, because the Raiders had that DNA of winning. It was tough-nosed running game, hard-nosed running game, a deep passing game, although not unintelligently so. Sometimes it was during the Sabre years. I was there to witness it, right? But overall, they understood the quick strike better than most teams, and this organization doesn't have that. It seems like its idea of a quick strike is a slant to Devontae Adams. Oh, and by the way, Hunter Renfrow had 2 catches for the entire game. I mean, that's insane. You got a guy who should touch the ball at least 6 times, at least. But that also speaks to the lack of diversity that I was talking about.
Right. And you talked about that.
Yeah.
The Patriot way. They attack the schemes constantly with slot receivers. The tight ends, and you just mentioned a very skilled slot receiver that were essentially lonely. Right? They didn't probably got any cardio. Barely got the sweat.
Awful. I mean, when does he says he's not going to Mark Davis pull the trigger? Because look, the way things are going right now, absent a drastic change, the Raiders are not going to play the Super Bowl in their own building. That's not happening. Not that, they're projected to be that, but you would like to be able to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we didn't get this quite right. Maybe they're better than we thought they were. Well, no. I hate to say it.
The Raiders are who I said they were. They're a team that's going to tough. They're going to win a few games. Even get an upset or somewhere in there.
But we have to cue up Denny Green. They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook. Except
crown their week. Right. But
except that the Steelers didn't let them off the hook.
No. Well, that's going to close out games. Right.
And what was this thing about going for the field goal rather than going for the touchdown when you're 8 yards away? What was that? Even my mom is yelling at the television, cursing up a storm. I'm glad my mom still has that spunk at 88. My God, you should have heard her.
I can only imagine.
man, I should have done this downstairs. She would have had a lot to say, but then she would have gotten too pissed off and said she didn't want to talk about it. So I came up here.
Well, I'm not impressed. I've never been impressed by Josh McDaniels. I've told you this before. And I felt like he got the golden boy title very early on. And no matter what he does, to damage that, we'll just decide he's a genius. But his in-game coaching acumen is not great.
Nope.
He's a above average play designer, but an average to below average play caller.
Right. And even I would challenge the whole above average play designer thing, because he's really tailed off over the years. And a lot of what he did is now standard fare in a league that commonly spreads 5 wide and throws slants. So it's not, this novelty anymore. And on top of all that, he hasn't significantly altered how he does his game at all. There's nothing there. In fact, I would argue he regressed. So it seems to me that I'm going to see. I'm anxious to see what Mark Davis does. I really am.
My guess is not a darn thing.
I think your guess is right. Hey, let's shift gears and talk about, speaking of guesses, and a mental faux pas I was about to make, because I was thinking about what you said about Josh McDaniels. And do you know who I started to superimpose with him? I'll give you a hint.
Well, Peyton maybe?
Yeah.
Right.
Sean Payton. Because you could apply that to Sean Payton.
Right. The difference is Sean Payton at least had a 12-year period where he was top 3 to 5 in terms of outputs of execution.
Yeah.
So you could understand why people gave him a pass later. Where's the McDaniel pass other than what he did with the Raiders? It wasn't based on what he did in Denver.
No. No. Nothing. To which leads to the question you and I discussed the answer to earlier today, which is, and fill us in for those of us watching, why did he really leave the Saints? I understand his party line, statement, but what do you think the real reason was?
I think it was a combination of burnout. He was in bad physical shape. Gained bad weight. He wasn't sleeping. A lot of the things you find sort of coach disease.
So why come back so quickly then?
He began to feel better. and he's an addict. I mean, he's addicted to coaching.
Oh, how about the roar of the crowd?
That's part of the addiction. But these guys are in the facility by themselves. There's no roar at all. At 1:45 in the morning, rewatching tape from 3 years ago, try to find a certain blitz so they can scheme up against it. So he's a grinder. He's a lifer. It's not just the roar of the grease paint or whatever his thing is. But he loves it. He's hooked. He doesn't like some of the other stuff, like dealing with humans. But the actual X's and O's,
and he's a human.
But the X's and O's stuff, he loves that stuff. And he came back. One because he could. Right. I mean, he was the hottest ticket in town. He had plenty of offers.
He did. Yeah.
Two. He felt like there was unfinished business. And what does every great coach want to prove if he's one of the Hall of Fame quarterback? They can move out that Hall of Fame quarterback. Because these people are ego monsters. In case you didn't know. This is a thing for them. They all want to show I can do it. Pete Carroll can't wait to win without Russ.
Belichick is only coaching now to prove he can do it without Brady. He's 70 years old, 71, 70, whatever. He's old and grumpy and tired. But he wants to get one without Brady.
Wait, does this mean I'm 10 years from being old, grumpy, and tired?
I don't want to define you, but I can tell you what William Belichick is like.
Raiders, hey, somebody douse the fire. Ouch.
No.
So I got to ask you, though, on that note, not regarding this, we'll get to that later, but the whole point is, well, it is part douse the fire. Who won the Raiders game? Ha! So anyway, okay. Well, we now have our first viewer who has been living under a rock. Ta-da! All right. Sorry, I can't even pronounce your name because that's not your name, so I'm going to take liberties, all right? I'm not going to be rude, but the whole point is, come on, you know. Anyway, let's talk about the Saints.
Okay.
I put up, and I may be able to find again, this on Twitter. No, I'll just say it. I'm not going to go through that. On the 3rd and 8 that Derek Carr was sacked and injured, guess who was crossing his view just about 7 yards downfield it was actually not 7 yards downfield, but 4 yards downfield from the line of scrimmage, an additional 3 yards, because they dropped back, right? Actually 3 or 4 yards. It was Jimmy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
So if you actually look at the video, Jimmy Graham is passing Derek Carr. Now, then I saw another angle of the play, and it was quite clear that they had the slot right, and the slot receiver was running a post, and the flanker was running a seam, and it looked more like, and Jimmy Graham was going across. He had all this space where if you just threw to him, it was perfect yards after the catch. But Derek didn't throw to him. Derek was looking downfield, and he let the rush get to him. So now you've got all these people who don't know how to look at the game saying, oh, it's the line's problem. And I'm saying it's not the line's problem. He could have given it to Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is an all-pro, and I can think of few better people to get the ball to on 3rd and 8 if I'm getting to him where he's got another 4 or 5 yards to run and there's space and he's a big dude. He'll pick up that. Okay? Am I missing something here?
Well, I don't think you're missing anything. He was probably just throwing his aggression. And
absolutely, but it spells to me that, I'll just say this, Jameis would have made that throw. That's how much I believe Jameis has progressed in that system. Jameis has been in that system longer than Derek Carr.
Sure.
Okay? And I think Derek is still learning.
Of course.
And so part of it, I think part of his injury, I'll just say this. That injury was self-inflicted. He should have gotten rid of the ball. He wasn't playing to what this play was giving him. And the play was giving him an underneath throw. He didn't take it. He stood there and looked downfield. He didn't come down. Even as the rush was coming down on him, it was like not even an idea to throw. Now, in my previous video, I blame the coaching staff for not making him make sure he did that. But given that it's a Bill Walsh-based concept, given that it was born from Sean Payton, who fancies himself a Bill Walsh disciple, I think it's fair to say that the tight end was the third option, right?
Right.
Okay, without looking at the playbook. Okay, sure. If we agree on that, then we have to agree that Derek Carr made a mistake that cost him some time. It's hard not to.
Well, I think it's two things. I think that as he reps out this offense more, he'll move through the directions faster. I mean, that's true of anything that you do. Repetition makes you smoother and faster. And there was also a player who got beat inside. in that situation, you want them to beat you to the outside. You don't want to get beat to the inside. So it's a combination. The line didn't do him any favors either. You always say, make the guy go around you, not underneath you. And the guy that hit him.
See, one of my friends on the Raiders fan base earlier today came along and he reminded us all of the mistakes Derek would make in reading. And so he said, this is just a continuation of what Derek used to do. And I'm deliberately waving my hand like that because I think it's like a little bit of sorcery. But I hate to say this, but I'll just say it. I'll say the one thing I think is going through everybody's mind. Isn't it weirdly poetic justice that Derek got injured and now gives way to a Jameis Winston who is healthier than he's ever been in some time, who doesn't have his eye problem, who doesn't have his foot problem, who's fixed. Oh, and here comes the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into the Superdome. What do you expect out of that contest?
That'll be an interesting game. Because we have two redemption stories. Right? In one Baker, Reagan, Mayfield. You have a guy who was a walk-on twice, right? Twice the walk-on, who wins the Heisman Trophy, right? The Burlsworth Trophy and the Heisman Trophy. The Burlsworth the top walk-on, and then obviously the Heisman top player in the nation. No one's ever won both, except him. Has a fantastic rookie year. Sets all the rookie records for the Browns, and then a combination of his own short call combined with not the best pitching in the world. Took him in the wrong direction. Bounces around a little bit, and now he's found a really good situation. Though they've lost pieces of line, it's still a good offensive line. It's an wide receiver group. They have a good young tight end. They have a terrific young receiving back. Rashad White be one of the better running backs in the league soon. He has a chance to turn his entire career around right there in Tampa. And almost everything I just said about Baker, Reagan, Mayfield can be said about Jameis.
Yeah,
Heisman Trophy winner, seen as a bust at one point. And a chance to redeem all of the things that we just.
I never saw him as a bust.
I didn't say you. I said he was largely seen as a bust. People wrote stories about being a bust.
They're idiots.
Well, that's not my problem. I'm just deciding what happened.
Continue. You were saying.
So. I think it'll come to three things, right? Turnover. Who turns the ball over? Or if there's more, who does it more? And then when do you turn the ball over? Right. That's the first thing.
How about
second thing? Yeah, second thing. Who is efficient in the red zone?
Yep.
Touchdowns opposed to field goals, and field goals opposed to turnovers. I mean, you want points, but you prefer obviously touchdowns. And then last but not least, who adjusts to the adjustments that the defense makes? Who does the better job of seeing what the defense is doing, taking what's there? Jameis has struggled in the past. Dealt with trying to take what worked there. Right. Trying to drive balls to places where there were sometimes two, even three defenders in close proximity. Trying to extend plays like you talked about, not taking check down, things like that. If he truly,
that's the thing. Here's the thing. He never had a check down in the Arians offense. He didn't even have one of Dirk Cutter's.
He wasn't always in the Darius. He's also in Dirk Cutter's offense.
He didn't have. That's what I'm saying. Dirk Cutter didn't have one either. I was talking to Dirk about that. I mean, there's this thing about, well, he missed a check down. Well, show me. You know, I mean, he had flat passes to throw to, and Dirk so didn't think about how his plays were designed that he was sending the halfback or fullback, pick your poison depending on the play and the flat pattern, right to the linebacker and asking Jameis essentially to throw to the linebacker, and it gets intercepted. And so then they wonder what the heck has happened. And Jameis is not of the mind to say, oh, by the way, this play is not correctly designed. Why? Because he wants to keep his job, even though his coach is freaking stupid. Okay. So Jameis Winston has been the victim of stupid coaches that take advantage of the fact that we as Black folks are not acculturated to say, oh, hey, by the way, I don't care what your title is. That was stupid. You know, change your play. I'm not going to run it. And Bill, you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of that goes into that, particularly with kids from the South, of which Jameis is. They're not acculturated to be intellectually, they're intellectual, sure, but not intellectually aggressive to where they're saying, look, I know and you don't. And that's what got Jameis in the trouble, because Jameis Winston actually is a smart guy, but he insisted on staying in the South. He insisted on going to Florida State rather than Stanford and David Shaw, where he should have had his blankety blank to begin with. We've said all that before. But my point is that this guy, this time, in this offense, knows the offense. He underwent an amazing physical transformation with a kind of method that should be talked about more. His body is fluid. He's a better player. So
Sure.
I think what happened, I hate to say it, is a blessing. And it'll be amazing to see what happens down the road. The question you have to ask is, okay, are they going to let Jameis keep the job, right? If a starter, if Derek comes back, if Jameis happens to ball out, or are they going to treat Jameis like they did with Andy Dalton, is leave him in there?
Well, I mean,
a lot of that will
determined by how the team's doing. Right. And to be fair, Carr was paying, I think he was 8-10 for 104 yards and a touchdown when he got hurt. So it wasn't like he was playing poorly.
I didn't say that.
No, I know. I'm just saying he was playing well. They didn't have a problem at the position. But this is an opportunity for Jameis, either with this team or another team.
But here's the thing. There are people who criticize how many times he's been sacked, and Derek. And my point is, with what I saw today and him missing Jimmy Graham, I believe part of the problem is that he holds on to the ball too long. And Jameis doesn't do that because Jameis is more comfortable in the offense and he knows where to go. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You said that before. And we agreed to that already.
Yeah.
I just
wanted to emphasize that since since I'm a little salty about rediscovering an old girlfriend, but whatever.
All right then. That having been stated for whatever reason, one of the best problems you could have is having two good quarterbacks in a league where most people don't have one. So no matter what happens, if James plays well, whether he keeps the job there or not, this helps the Saints because somebody paging and calls the Jets or whatever. There's going to be interest in Jameis if he doesn't become the starter and he looks good. So a Saints team that does need to restock. They got a little old at some key positions. They had some cap issues that they're still working through. Kai Harley, one of the best cap people in football. But they were kicking the cap down the road. At some point, you have to pay the bill. And they're in the process of getting out from under that. So if they're able to free up some cap space and bring back draft depth by moving Jameis to a place where he can be a starter, I'm sure that they'll consider that.
How come they didn't do it now?
nobody's made the offer yet. But it's not the offer they want.
That we know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
If it was the offer they wanted,
I'll offer this. I think it's because they know that Jameis knows the offense better than Derek, and they're not willing to take a chance on an older guy who's coming in and release the younger guy who knows the offense better, and then turn around and hey, where would the Saints have been if they traded Jameis, let's say 2 weeks ago, okay, and then this happened to Derek? They would have been blankety blanked.
But they wouldn't have got the offer they wanted for Jameis.
But my point is, again, the question is, what if? Okay, what if?
Well, I hear the what if question.
Right. My point is, there's nothing to say it wouldn't have happened.
Well, it wouldn't have happened because no one Jameis play with this offense in regular season. So you're not going to get the offer you want. You're not going to get the offer
I'm not talking about Bill. I'm not talking about the logic of it. I'm talking about the simple fact that because Jameis is a quarterback of the Saints and backing up, that it could have happened. Forget for the moment that it would have been a bad deal or anything else, but it is impossible to deny the fact that it could not have happened. It could have.
I didn't say it couldn't happen.
That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Right, and I'm saying that if that had transpired, the Saints would have been up a creek without a paddle. My point is that they're holding on to him because they know they give him what they have right now, insurance that they can beat their competitors. That's what I'm saying. Now you want to disagree? Want to bet? Let's bet. What are we betting?
I don't know. I don't even know what you're asking. What I'm saying is that if he plays well in three games, let's just say. All right. Whatever the sample size is. You'll get calls at that point. And if the offer is attractive, I promise you it'll be considered.
I don't think
because professional malpractice.
There's our bet. I'll bet you if he plays well in the next 3 games, and he will, that they will not take any offer. And he won't. I'll bet you that.
I think it depends what the offer is.
No, I'll bet you that.
If somebody makes good enough offer, they'll consider it.
My point is, it won't happen regardless.
Well, that's a different thing. You're asserting two things.
So you're afraid to bet me, is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying if somebody says we'll give you first, if somebody says we'll give you first, he's gone. That's what I'm telling you.
So is it going to happen or not?
I don't know. I'm telling you.
I'm saying it won't. I'm betting you. I'm saying it won't happen.
You mean someone won't offer first? I don't know what they're betting. We're betting now.
We're betting that Jameis Winston will not leave the Saints because that's what it'll boil down to. Brass tacks.
I'm telling you, if somebody's going to give up a first-round draft,
it's not happening. It's not happening.
Well, we'll see. But
let's bet.
If somebody offers a first, I'm telling you, somebody offers a first, they'll move him.
It's not happening. Even if they offer a first, they won't move him.
If they offer a first, they'll move him.
Let's bet.
Unless it's a team that's way at the end of the draft.
You're afraid to bet. You're afraid to bet me.
No, I'm saying
not money.
Listen. Pick 18 is the mark I'm setting. If it's pick 18 or earlier, they're moving. That's the so you'll bet. I'll bet that with you.
Say again.
If it's pick 18 or earlier, like above pick 18,
yeah,
they move it. That's what I'm betting.
And I'll take the bet. They're not going to take him. They're not going to do that. I'll bet that.
I bet you that pick 18 or better, they will.
It's on. We're on.
It's on.
Yeah. They're not moving Jameis.
We'll see.
Especially I ain't going nowhere, man. That'd be the stupidest thing in the world.
All right. Well, like I said, we'll see.
Hey, stuff happens. Now, moving forward, let's deal with this question on the floor. Would you rather have Pickett or Jimmy?
Well, if my team is built to win, say 2 or 3 years, it's easy. Jimmy's going to be on the backside of his career in 3 years.
Do I feel a butt?
No. I mean, if the reason Jimmy over Pickett is had a very specific offense that Jimmy knew better than Pickett did. Pickett's more talented.
Are we cursed Mikey Raider? Mikey Raider is a legendary. You know who Mikey Raider is?
I know.
All right. Are we cursed?
Define cursed.
Well, you do it. You do it. You do it. Take. I don't have Mikey here to. I don't have his number. Well, you know.
At the moment, you have a nepo baby. Is the term that I use running your team. His only qualification. You have a nepo baby.
A who?
In fact, both your coach and your owner are nepo babies. Short for nepotism. Nepotism.
Define that.
So a nepo baby is someone who has gotten where they've gotten, at least in part, due to who their parents are.
So in the case of
inheritance. Right.
Both of them.
In other words, the American way. The American way.
So Josh McDaniels is the son of a legendary coach at McKinley High School. Right. His dad's a legend in the Ohio Sports Hall of Fame. Right. And
I did not know that.
Oh, you did?
No. Tell us. I didn't.
Oh, his father's a legendary coach. So
what's his dad's name?
What is his father's name? Something. I can't remember his father's name. But he's a legend. He's won 300 odd or something in the state of Ohio. He played for his dad. In fact, I can't McKinley. In fact, that high school. When you go to the Hall of Fame, you pass it. You've seen the high school that he went to. Can't McKinley's right there by the Hall of Fame. And obviously, you mean Mark Davis is the definition of nepotism. So these are two people that got accelerated.
I have to say, Mark, I feel sorry for, and that's personal. And the reason is that Mark used to hang out at the King's X. King's X is a bar in Oakland that was at, until it was closed, 41st and Piedmont. And people would share some unfortunate stories about Mark and some problems with substance when he was young. Mm-hmm. And I always prayed that he would get the help that he needed and move forward, and he's done that in fine fashion. But between then and now, there have been people locally who have made fun of him, including reporters. I'm not talking about just his haircut, but insinuating that he doesn't know football or that he's stupid. But this is a man who actually created the Raider image, the brand idea, the whole idea that there's these clothes that you can buy that are exemplary of the Raider image. He had a head for selling the Raiders brand before anybody heard of him. And, a friend of mine turned me on to this fact, who I got to call him at some point, Charlie Santana Jr., who told me this story. We were at the Raider game. And it totally changed my view of Mark. And it made me realize that that there's a lot I didn't know about him, and I should really rethink what I think about him. And it was in that one moment, and I'm going to play that for you right here because I think it's important for people to see right here where he did that. So I don't want people to forget this because he's been, I think, maligned too much, and I think it's affected him to a point where he's just getting over it. He's just getting over how people thought about him, how much fun they made of him. Here it is. This is my buddy, Charlie Santana Jr., whose dad was instrumental in bringing the Raiders back to Oakland from Los Angeles. Here's Charlie 7 years ago with me at the Raider game. Yeah, he says right here.
Zennie,
this is where the Raider image was born.
Zennie, the Raider image, Zennie. Shall I continue?
Yeah. Tell him what happened.
The Raider image started in El Segundo when the Raiders were in LA when they left Oakland. It had to be the 93-94 Mark Davis owned Raider image. That was his sole job. And he had 5 employees: Susie Gallardo, Lou Goldberg, a guy by the name of Gonzalo, and Janet Steele. There might have been one more. I can't remember all the names. And basically, that's how merchandise started on the internet.
That's your wife, right?
My wife currently now.
Yeah.
And Mark Davis is the one who just instrumented it.
Come name me your wife. Come name me your wife.
Well, her name's Susie Santana now.
Yeah.
Used to be Susie Gallardo. And I met her when the Raiders moved back in '95. So basically, the Raider Image was 2 or 3 years old. Now they have like 14 stores, and everything sells on internet as far as merchandise. And Mark Davis invented the little hand warmers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was Mark's little invention. And Mark had his little invention. When you're in New York and it's 20 degrees below and you're playing football, these little warm cloths, that's MD. MD did that. So MD was always there doing something. Now he's the owner.
Nice.
There was nothing like his dad.
No, his dad's a great man. Yeah.
My dad and his dad were the best.
Yeah.
Just keep doing the best you can, MD.
Good man. He's the best. Yeah, that's my buddy Charlie Santana. Dude, I'm glad you let me indulge me to share that because I'm about to cry. But they didn't treat him right, but there are people like Charlie who know the real story about Mark Davis as a person, and there you go. So hope that helps.
Yeah, and the father of the hand warmer.
Yeah,
Mark Davis.
Who knew, right? I didn't. That's why that video should be played a lot more than 760 times it's been seen. But anyway,
I've never denied that Mark Davis understands retail. He does.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with him is he chooses people that he likes.
That's
and I
understand that.
I get that. But he needs to expand out beyond just people he likes.
100%. 100%. There are a number of people, I think, Bill, who would agree with you. 100%. That is a gigantic problem. Hey, moving along now, we talked about a great moment in history that you very kindly allowed me to present. Thank you very much. Let's go and talk about the Dolphins. What the heck was that about, man?
Well, it's about several things.
Okay.
So you have to go back to 1966. The last time a team scored 70 points. And that team did a lot of that off of defensive plays. The difference was that this was mostly offensive plays. I mean, there were some turnovers, but most of this was based off of just explosive offensive plays.
Yeah.
So not to say this is the only reason, but you may know this. Mike McDaniels grew up a Denver Broncos fan. Had an unpaid internship very early in his coaching career with the Denver Broncos. Interviewed for positions later in the Denver Broncos. Was available to be hired when the Broncos hired their last two coaches. Neither of whom did so far at least. And Mike McDaniels wanted to be considered for those jobs. I'm not saying this necessarily played into that, but it didn't hurt.
Okay, so why do I feel like what Mike McDaniels is doing reminds me of the Wildcat? And reason I say that is I say that it's got plays where players are, you have one player running a reverse. When if you take a look at the play, it's not logical. He should be running that end around. Within a play that's running that has a not shotgun, but a shovel pass in it. Within the same play, which has a flat pass in, and the guy's looking for the flat pass. That's all one play. Mm-hmm. It's a package play.
Right.
So I'm looking at all these different approaches. variation of the read option. And then I'm adding them up and thinking, wait a minute, there's only a handful of plays because the one shovel pass, he actually ran twice. He ran it from the left, and then he ran it from the right, which indicated to me, hey, there's not this huge variety of plays, even though the plays he puts in are of interesting design, and they work, right? So at what point, so I say the clock is starting ticking now. At what point does the league catch up to what he's doing? Because I believe I know what the answer to stopping that offense is, and it's the wide tackle 6. And why do I say the wide tackle 6? For those of you folks who don't know what the wide tackle 6 is,
you're rolling back the clock.
Yeah. Yes, I'm rolling back the clock. Yeah, that's right. I'm going old school, man. Yeah, I'm going old school.
Okay, Jim Cabbage. Get on up there.
Thank you. 2 defensive tackles on either side of the center. 2 defensive ends on inside the offensive guards. And then 2 more on the outside, which are actually outside linebackers. We used to call them. But then in the days of the dinosaurs, they were down on all 4s at times. Right, Bill?
Sure.
Okay. And so all I'm saying is bring all those blankety blanks in like Buddy Ryan would do that, okay? And constant pressure. You got all these guys coming, and that negates all this people going everywhere and the quarterback trying to figure this out. And guess what? You got to make a decision like that because he's never been pressed like that. And that kind of pressure will destroy that offense. That's all I'm saying.
What I would say is the adjustment is just pepper you with short passes just past the linebacker depth. Or at the linebacker depth. With people who can't be covered by linebackers. And now you've got 7-yard plays to turn to 7-yard plays.
Yeah, I'm chancing that since I've got 6 rushing, I've got 5 back, and I'm chancing I can get to you before you get to them. That's been the math all the time. You know that.
Right.
Well
I mean, and if you get there, you're fine.
Yeah.
But when you don't, and now Devin is saying 1-3-4 is space with the linebacker,
right?
Or Tyreek Hill is space with the linebacker or anybody really.
Right.
You're going to give up touchdowns.
But we bump and run. We bump and run.
Well, the whole point of orbit motion is that they know you can't.
I understand that, and my point is that because they're doing orbit motion, they still have to get him once the ball is snapped. He's still running behind the line of scrimmage. He has to go over the line of scrimmage and out to his pattern. By the time he's completed that, we will have gotten to his quarterback. We've gotten old Shrimpy over there and went, hey, that's why I'm calling 2 old Shrimpy, okay? Hey, okay, and got into his face. I'm saying we would harass the blankety blank out of him in a way he's not been harassed before. And I'm saying somebody will try that. Okay?
I'm sure somebody will try it.
Because it'll be, and I can hear Buddy Ryan saying from heaven, just, you know what? Just hit him. Right, that's what he would say, right?
Well, Glanville and Ryan and people like that are essentially the Bruce of defense, right? They would just say, I'm not going to die by 1,000 cuts. If you're going to beat me now, right? Because here comes 0 coverage, 7, sometimes 8 coming. And if it works, but what happens when somebody shrugs off somebody, makes somebody miss, whatever, and gets the ball out, touchdown.
Yeah, but in fairness, though, have you ever seen a Buddy Ryan defense that got shredded like that?
Not like 70 shredded, but I've seen them beaten badly a few times.
Yeah, but not much, though. Not much.
Joe Gibbs, Washington team's got him a few times. Obviously, they gave up some big scores a couple of times.
Bill Walsh
got him right.
Yeah,
right.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that you have to have a particular type of approach to do it. And I'm saying that more often than not, because remember, Buddy Ryan got Bill Walsh and all those other guys too, right? So my point is, and it's not just a wide tackle 6, but it's the idea. It could be, you know, I'm not really in love with just pumping the 46 on its own. But I am in love with the idea of if you're going to offset your receivers and give me plays where you have the offensive tackle and the running back behind the quarterback, and yet you're going to give the ball to the running back and have him run to the weak side. Yeah, I'm going to have my guy up there just crashing down to get your running back and stomp him. Okay. Pressure is all I'm talking about. But hey,
sure.
Now here's the other question I have for you. All of my talking is one thing, but do you think anybody's actually going to do it?
Well, you're seeing people mostly fire zone stuff.
Yeah,
because you don't want to be in man. We just talked about why you don't want to be in man. They've got
touchdown.
At least four guys between Raheem Mostert, Devin Shane, obviously Tyreek Hill, and
you're talking about Tyreek Hill,
Alabama,
Mostert,
Shane, and
the other fleet,
the other one,
the other fleet wide receiver from Miami,
not Judy Nutrugs, the other Alabama blazing fast receiver,
right?
Well, some of them like those things. But the point I'm making is that they have a bunch of guys won track medals in college, right?
Yeah.
Right. 60 meter champion in the form of Raheem Mostert. Shane was I think the 200 meter champion in the SEC at Texas A&M. I can't remember what event it was that he'll get 100 meters. No. He
Marvin Mims.
Not Mims. Mims plays for the Denver.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill. We had. Let me try something. Dolphins receivers. Oh, by the way, how about them getting Will Lutz, the guy that was with the Saints, who would have won the game
if they held on to him?
Yeah. I mean, geez, Louise. Talk about boneheaded moves, man.
It happens. Player personnel is a tricky game.
Okay, so we've got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So all those guys run sub 4.4. So they're by far the fastest team in football. And most teams are afraid to do what they're trying because you're going to give up so many big plays anytime you don't get there. But if somebody's sufficiently courageous and say, hey, I'm going to put my job on the line to try it this way. I don't want to die because I would die quickly. Right? Then somebody will do that. And they'll double aid gap blitz, and they'll delay blitz, and they'll bring an overload where they've got five guys on one side of the ball. Sure. And you will get there some of the time. The problem is if you don't.
Yeah. And so let me ask you a question. Shifting to the Ravens. Okay. I texted our colleague, Melissa Rubin, who goes to the Ravens games. And I asked her about that. And she said, I didn't have a good feeling about the game. Ravens were missing 7 starters. Then the game was a comedy of errors.
She's correct.
And she then adds, I wrote back, wow, I didn't know they mounted injury problems so early. Also, is Lamar not the same person? It seems I don't hear about him making a difference by running. And she responded, yep, lots of injuries. Lamar had issues today. He made some good running plays, but he also fumbled a few times. And I wrote, yikes, no passes off the runs. In other words, no run pass option play. She didn't answer that guy. She's getting ready for work. But what are your thoughts about what's going on with Lamar and the Ravens? Excuse me.
Well, there's good news and bad news. And yes, they're missing a bunch of plays. Here's what I'll say
on the
bad news
first.
Their offensive
line
struggles. And they struggle with two main things. They struggle with games, right? Twist and motions,
stunts.
Which several lines do. It's not just unique to them. They also struggle with movement right in the interior. They have a tremendous athletic center. But he's also one of the smaller centers. Maybe the lightest in Lindenbaum. So if you do have, and there's not many that's you have those really big, you have a monster, a huge person. He's going to be in for a fight, and you may not win that fight. The other thing I would say is as much excitement as there is around the new offense. It is new. They need time, and teams don't play as much in the preseason. There's one fewer games, and a lot of teams don't play their starters hardly at all. So if you're doing something new, and you've had very few live reps, the first few games are likely to be not the prettiest thing in the world.
All right, so now we've got this. I gotta congratulate this man on a great game. It hasn't been talked about much for some reason, but the Houston Texans clobbered, not beat, but clobbered the Jacksonville Jaguars 37-17 with NFL 2023 second pick in the first round, CJ Stroud, going 20 of 30 for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Stroud played well. That game was about defense. I watched that game.
Tell us.
Texans defense was fantastic.
Who was a standout among the performers?
Name one.
Name
Jalen Petrie was good. Derek Stingley was fantastic. He's one of the best young players in football. D'Amico Ryans is one of the best young coaches. He's got a good staff.
Yes.
All of the defense is good. Will Anderson made a great play. He's a guy who's a chance to win Rookie of the Year. It's a good defense. Period.
So what is the reason the Texans exploded in this way against, of all people, the team picked to actually beat them, the Jaguars?
Well, the Jaguars was a good scoop, and I talked about that when we talked about the games leading up to this.
Yeah, repeat that though for those who haven't heard that before.
Sure.
Yeah.
The Jaguars have some exciting pieces. They have a great young quarterback. I like Travis Etienne a great deal. I think they missed some pieces on defense when people realize that. They've lost a lot of talent on defense. You don't just replace Jalen Ramsey, obviously.
Yeah.
They've got some pieces that they just can't replace or haven't replaced at least. Well, the second thing is they are not stubborn enough in establishing whatever it is they're trying to establish. So if you're a ball control passing team, establish that. If you're a play action team, establish the run, and play action off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they don't have a single thing they do so well that you can't adjust to the other thing they do. You can still defend everything against them. And I'll go back to what you were about the Raiders. They should make the other team be so overreactive to the run game that they can kill you off play action.
Right.
And they have not been able to do that. Now,
you have to establish a run mentality, which isn't there.
That's the difference between what they have and what they have now. If you got 1 yard of carry on the first 27 carries, here comes run 28. Gruden would stick. He didn't care. They don't do that now. If they don't get success halfway through the second quarter of the running game, go away from it. Instead of saying let's go two tight ends, let's bring in a fullback. Let's bit of a defensive tackle at fullback, right? Kind of thing the Ravens, right? The Ravens would say, "F it, I'm going to run the ball till it works."
Right.
So they need also to find the hang their head on. The Jaguars have the same problem. If I was the Jaguars, I would go two backs in the backfield, two receivers, and then switch sometimes shift to two tight ends. But I would lean on lean. And then once I see that safety kick that second step in. Now I'm throwing the ball to Evan on those delay routes where he blocks the 1,002 go. And he runs 4.43. He's the fastest tight end in football. And once you don't account for him because you see him blocking, now there's no coverage player assigned to him. So now a linebacker, maybe a linebacker try to run with the fastest tight end in football. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
So now you get these big plays off of short passes. I would also move Travis Etienne around.
Mm-hmm.
I would sometimes have an offset, classic deep eye, even line up like a fullback, and shovel pass to him. But I would make sure that he touched the ball more. And then the last thing I mentioned, I move him around. I'd have him in the backfield as if you were fullback at times. I would have him in the slot, in the wing, out wide. He's a mismatch, and they don't use him enough. You can deform defensive coverages if you basically snatch the heart of the to them by getting the ball into Evan Ingram's hands 14 times a game. Because at least on two of those, someone's taking a bad angle, break a tackle, and now, boom, he's gone.
All right, so we have a second recap show Tuesday night. Vinny Lospinoso is going to join us. He's at work right now, or rather, has to get ready for work. And so I'm going to wrap this one up because it is now almost 1 o'clock in the a.m. here. But we do have two games tomorrow night at 7:15 Eastern. We've got the Philadelphia Eagles visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe that the Eagles are going to walk in and beat the Bucs. And I believe that the Rams are going to walk in and beat the Bengals. What say you, Bill?
I don't disagree. I just think that the Eagles won't cover. It'll be a really close game.
Interesting.
And the Bengals
are in trouble.
Like real trouble.
If Joe Burrow
can't go. They might not only not win that game. They might get blown out.
Could happen. We'll find out.
They are extremely quarterback centric.
We will find out tomorrow, and we'll discuss it on Tuesday.
Yep.
Hey, Bill, thanks. Stick around in the background. Thank you all for joining us. We've been on for 1 hour, 3 minutes. Share it around. Subscribe to Zennie62 on YouTube. And like and subscribe this live stream. And make sure to comment. That ends this broadcast of this stream. We'll be back.